Hi everyone, welcome to Painting with Watercolors. This watercolor video is about painting a simple still life set up with an arrangement of few mushrooms. Here's a photograph of the setup I did, which I painted from life. I arranged the mushroom in various angles, overlapping one another to create interesting tonal shapes from my viewpoint. I pre-wetted the background and now I'm starting to develop the background with few colors. Uh, Basically, these are the arty colors with warm and cool tones, a mixture of yellow ochre, ultramarine blue, and maple yellow in different consistencies. Sometimes the blue is a little more to make it more cool, and sometimes the yellow ochre is a little bit more to make it a little warm. Basically, we're working with wet on wet technique mostly to achieve the wet with the wet surface the softness of the edges because it's much easier to develop hard edges later on than the soft edges. So it is very ideal to create the soft edges in the beginning. We are also varying the tones a little bit from lighter to darker. Here you can see that I have added some a strong ultramarine here and there to not only cool down but also to darken it. Now I'm spraying a little bit of water to for the colors to flow. Then I'm using a little bit of um, the board is set at an angle of somewhere around 15 degree, so the gravity helps the water to go down, and it gives a nice effect of flow, characteristic of dynamic watercolor medium. And as you can see, while developing the background, I have also left few areas of whites, the bright areas of the white on the main subjects, which are the mushrooms, so that I can leave them as highlights and the most bright areas, because these mushrooms are brighter than the background. But I also wanted to create a soft effect. I am adding more raw sienna, stronger raw sienna, and a bit of burnt sienna mixed with it, just to develop the towards the mid tone, not exactly the dark mid tone, but a little darker tone than the light background, and also to give more forms and dimensions over the mushrooms. They are round, their forms are round, they barely have any hard edges. So it's a good idea still when the paper is still damp or slightly wet to add this color so that I can still achieve the softness. I'm mostly using stronger yellow ochre and a bit of burnt sienna, as you can see, to drop in. So this adds more warmth and a more vibrant color than the background, which is softer and little desaturated. These colors are a little more stronger and more saturated because this is the main subject, and I want to emphasize this as in comparison to the background. I'm trying to develop various brush marks as well. These mushrooms are actually set up in a overlapping one in front of other and in different directions, so it gives various dynamics to the composition, and at the same time I'm trying to develop all together like the foreground and both the background mushrooms by adding cooler to the backgrounds and the warmer to the foreground ones. Now I'm adding some uh, darks underneath the mushrooms where basically the light is occluded and not much even reflected light is going on, so we can see that those parts are a little bit more darker than the even the form shadow or the cast shadow areas. I have also added a little bit of cast shadow from one of the mushrooms so that it is connected to the main subject. Now I have started adding some darks inside the or the underneath parts of the mushroom, which is the beautiful dark brown, maroonish brown kind of texture. The paper is has dried a bit more now, since the paint consistency also is more thicker now at this moment, so I'm getting a little more stronger and harder edges. The edges are still not completely hard as when you use wet on dry technique, but still they are holding the shapes beautifully, and you can see how suddenly the um, one of the big mushrooms underneath side, which is stem, suddenly started popping out just by adding a little bit of those dark colors. The colors have dried quite lighter than the beginning, even the darker colors we were adding. So I'm adding a little bit of more underneath that is so that it can give a kind of a um, shadow effect, because the light is coming from the left top side. So underneath, and since these areas are um, a bit inside, it's just like an umbrella. So that castedo helps to differentiate the different surfaces of the dark and the lighter underneath side of the mushroom. And now I'm developing the underside and the castedo of the subject, so that it feels like that um, it is sitting on top of the on the surface, which is the background. And the whole advantage of adding the background and the colors on the background and the something in the beginning is that it connects and uniforms very nicely. And now I can easily separate them, the background, where I wanted, and not like they will not look like cutout, and they will still merge in places with soft and merging edges. And I can easily separate with hard edges and dark colors where I want to, so that they are not completely blended. Still, many of the mushrooms are being kept as connected, and they are overlapping, and there are lots of darks are merging with one to another. So are the midtones and the whites. So this is a nice way of leading the viewer's eyes from one to another, rather than making them each of them as separate, painting them as separate, and the result will be very harsh. And this is more spontaneous and more beautiful to look at, and that's what we are trying to achieve here. Um, we are not trying to work very hard on each and everything, but we are trying to give enough information to identify the subject uh, of what they are. This is only just a sketch, a quick sketch, uh, maybe somewhere which took me around 25-26 minutes. This video is played at a double speed just to speed up the whole process. But the informations are more or less there for you to understand how it works. And now almost the underneath and the almost the forms and all are completed. So just needed a little bit of adjustment, which is the fun part. Basically now slowly we'll add up some more darks to pull some more areas. We'll soften some more areas where we do not want the attentions to go. At this moment I need to be also careful that I do not overwork in any of the areas. And it's very helpful with a little bit of sharp pointed brushes to get the tips. I can always soften them with the damp brush or just smudging with a finger where it is not required. So this sketch has almost come to a point where I think it is getting over, and this is a very good time to think over, take a break, and see if anything is required, because most of these sketches or paintings are ruined, or comes to a state when we overwork on them. Lots of extra brush marks and colors are added, colors becomes muddy. So to keep it fresh and to make it still look spontaneous with enough information, we need to leave it a little, stop it a little earlier than it should be. Now you can see that the on the left part, those two mushrooms, they were almost blended to the background, and I'm adding a slightly a bit of dark of the same color, same blue color of the background, and strengthening the edge. But at the same time, towards the bottom side and towards the up side, I'm blending so that it doesn't look like a whole cut edge. So it needs to be separated, but at the same time, it also need to blend enough to the background. So this is almost come to an end, and maybe a touch here and there, and I think this is almost done. I hope you have enjoyed this demonstration. Thank you for watching.